Welcome to another episode of 24/7 Laredo Podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Jesus Garza. We're an original, free, and independent news site that talks about original issues that affect Laredo. Here at 24/7, we provide you information that may be helpful for you and in Laredo and for people who live in Mexico. You can like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube as well so you can keep up with the latest shows. Of course, I would suggest that you look up at all the prior videos. We've been doing videos actually since 2018, so you might see some of us have aged gracefully, or some of us haven't aged gracefully along the way, but you may want to check us out. Now, if you'd like to participate as a guest or a candidate, feel free to contact us. You can contact us at 247-Laredo2021 @gmail.com. Again, we don't like to talk about conspiracy theories. We don't like to talk about hate. Just talk about issues that affect you and I on a regular basis. Now, today we're very lucky to have a very busy judge, and she's County Court Law Associate Judge, Leticia Martinez Mendoza. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Well, thank you for making it. It's really great to see a judge who I've known for many, many years go up the ladder, and now you're a judge, and we're all very proud of you in that regard. How's the campaign coming along?
Oh, it's really going great. Everywhere I go, it's positive. We've been block walking, we've been corner rallying, we've been attending each and every event that we can possibly humanly attend, and it's all very positive and good comments and meeting a lot of people.
Good.
So it's been really, really good.
Now, you've been a judge, associate judge. You were an associate judge, or
I am an associate judge.
You're an associate judge.
Yes,
Since
I am.
when have you been a judge?
I have been a judge since December of 2018, I believe. And then in 2019, I was part-time for about a year. And then in 2020, right before the pandemic, I became full-time
judge.
A full-time associate judge.
Wow,
yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
Judge, how many cases have you heard so far that you can think of?
Oh, it's got to be in the thousands.
Really?
It's in the thousands. Remember, I covered 2 courts.
Yes.
And so whenever my judges need me to step in for them in whatever dockets that they need, I am there.
Right. So you came in, people call it a substitute judge, but in reality, they have the same basic power as any other judge who was elected by the community. So what experience do you believe that you have now has helped you in terms of wanting to run again?
Well, the primary experience is that I'm doing the job. I am doing the job. I am handling the juvenile cases. I am handling the family law docket, the criminal docket. I'm also a magistrate. And so I know what needs the court's
attention.
Right. And so I'm there. I have my own ideas and things I would like to do because I am there.
Well, Judge, since you're there, you know which cases take longer than others. Do you feel like you've managed the court, or you've helped the other judge to handle the court appropriately in terms of the time all cases are resolved before a certain hour, or everything gets? It's like a train that it keeps going and going and going. You gotta be on time, and you finish on time.
I do. For instance, this past Monday for the criminal docket, I had 151 arraignments. I was able to do it by 11 o'clock.
Okay, well, that's what happens when you have a lot of experience. You're able to run
You figure out how best to do it so that it is most efficient.
Right.
And we have done that.
Now, how long have you been an attorney, Judge?
I've been an attorney for 40 years.
Wow, 40 years. Wow. And as an associate judge, do you feel like you've put your mark for both county courts of law in
Absolutely.
terms of how you run the office?
Absolutely. And I'm fortunate enough to have 2 judges who have given me autonomy. And I believe it's because of the experience that I have. I shadowed them for 2 weeks only. And then they left me on my own. And my responsibilities when I first started were primarily the juvenile docket and the pro se docket. I also have magistration duties. The the district court judges assigned the 2 associate judges, the one from the district courts and then the one from the county courts, to have magistration duties. So that was also my responsibility. And night court. So I started off with those responsibilities as a part-time associate judge.
Well, Judge, obviously you brought up quite a few issues now that you opened it up that I hadn't planned to discuss, but how do you handle someone who has no attorney? And you just mentioned the pro se court. What is a pro se court?
Well, it's now called the self-litigant docket, and this is the docket where individuals want and can and do file their own cases. It's primarily divorce cases. And we have also name changes and just different family law matters where the person feels they can handle it on their own or they don't have the means to hire an attorney.
In those cases, Judge, I would imagine that some of those cases, obviously, you can proceed because some of it may be considered common sense. But what if there's a custody issue?
That becomes difficult because the parties don't know the rules of the court. Right. And if there's a custody issue, I will generally name an ad litem attorney to represent or look out for the best interest of the children.
Right. And so you might even kick out that case from the pro se docket and put it up on a regular docket in some cases.
Some cases, yes, in some situations. And the other thing that I have done, which I'm very proud of, and because as a practicing attorney, I saw a need for mediation.
Yes.
There's a lot of parties who cannot afford mediation. So the judges, I approached my bosses, the judges, if I can set up 2 days where we can mediate cases where they are not able to afford a formal mediation. And every week, there's Mondays and Tuesday afternoons I set aside to mediate the cases. And it's been a very successful. The parties are present via Zoom now.
Yes.
Everything's done via Zoom now.
Incredible. And
I try to resolve the issues between them.
So actually, if they have an issue, you actually are present and you tell both parties, I'll take a few minutes, go to the back room or talk to each other. This is the issue. These are maybe your options. Go back to see what you can work out.
Right.
It's always better, is it not, Judge, that they resolve their own issues?
I always tell them that.
More so than the judge.
I always tell them that. Go back there, be civil with each other, and approach it in a business-like way. You know, this is what I can do. This is what I cannot do. And it's okay if you don't resolve it, but if you can resolve most of it, it is great, because you may not like how I rule.
And it's important that people understand that. Here's a judge come in and say, this is the way your life is going to be after you get a divorce. Now, if you don't want us to tell you how to live, then you might as well sit down and work it out between yourselves.
Correct.
Very simple. And that's always been an issue I think that people need to understand. You don't want to impose your views or your lifestyle, think this is what the way they should do it. But
right. Well, and a lot of it is common sense, but because of the parties bring the emotion to it, whatever happened in their marriage, or they're upset or they're bitter, whatever it is, they bring that into that negotiation. And I just tell them, put that aside and look at it from the perspective of your child, what's best for your child. Let's see if we can resolve it, because if you're going to be dealing with each other until your child is 18.
Unless they're disabled, and you're going to carry that issue all the way to the rest of your life. Judge, you've been a judge for at least 6-7 years, at least. What life experiences do you think have made you become, a good judge? Is there anything in your life that you feel that you've done that
there's a lot of
role models out there that
life experiences, apart from my experiences with my clients, knowing both sides of the issues and knowing the dynamics of people and how that can factor into the courtroom. That's been a huge impact on my approach to the bench. My personal life experiences, as you know, I
Yes.
lost a son, and
Yes.
so
I'm very sorry about
that, thank you, that has put some sort of a focus on me,
Right.
especially with our youth,
Um, But you've overcome much of all this. When it comes to you handling the juvenile docket, you've done very well with it.
I sure have. I've implemented a number of things.
Yes.
And it also comes back to my representing juveniles.
I
It
remember.
goes back to me being a prosecutor of juveniles, but I'm most proud of what I've done with the juvenile docket. I started seeing a tremendous increase in arrests for possession of controlled substance, vaping in particular, in the high schools.
Yes.
And most of them are first-time arrests. And as you know, our juvenile department cannot handle that many individuals to be in custody until there's a detention hearing,
Yes.
which could take a day or 2 days. I didn't want for the kids to be in detention. It's traumatic enough that you're arrested and then to be in a cell. So I started setting up what I call a special docket for those first-time situations and ordering them to appear to my courtroom. And I show them videos of the dangers of vaping. I have the parents there. They go through the entire juvenile docket so they see firsthand what could happen if the state decides to prosecute or if they can't stop the vaping. Because most of the vaping is not just cigarette, it is
That's the problem,
marijuana.
exactly. And that's part of the problem that parents don't understand. That vaping has all kinds of liquids, and one of them, of course, is marijuana. And it doesn't have the legal amount to begin with.
Right.
It's got like 2-3 times a normal marijuana cigarette may have. And it all depends on where you get it from. And some of it will be really high at 20%, some of it will be at 4%. It just depends. And people don't seem to understand that they put all kinds of liquids into those things that you never know what you're smoking or what
Right.
you're vaping. And they can hurt themselves.
That's true.
There are kids, I would imagine that you've seen them, have ended up going to the hospital because of it.
Right, and it could be laced, and I tell them it could be laced with cocaine, it could be laced with ecstasy, and we've had those instances, and it could be laced with fentanyl, which will kill you. And we've had a couple of children who have passed because their vape pen was laced with that. And so I try and take that out to our community and to the parents.
Well, vaping by adults should not happen as well.
Right.
And so
I agree.
we have to set a standard ourselves. So that takes me to the issue of family moral or family, what you see is what you get. In other words, let's suppose in your case, your judge, your dad has been a public official for more than 30 years, very beloved in our community, very well respected. Do morals matter? I mean,
Of
how you
course.
raise.
Of course they matter. Yes,
And so
they do.
obviously, if we raise them well, most of these kids, then they shouldn't be vaping. They shouldn't be doing a lot of these things in most cases.
But Judge, it's out there.
But it's out there,
It's
right?
out there. They sell it at the Stripes. It comes wrapped like a candy.
Yes.
And I think and I believe that it's very hard to be a teenager
Yes, it is.
nowadays because it really is out there, and your friend is trying to give it to you. And we can be the best parent in the world and instill in our kids those values and those morals and don't do this. But they're out in the world. And
At one point
even
they-
their own friends are trying to get them, oh, just try it, nothing's going to happen.
Yes. And unfortunately, many times something does happen. And so, but it's important that parents always be alert about what their kids are doing at school and with their friends all the time. Because all you need is one moment, 2 moments, 2-3 minutes, or maybe one evening, and everything can fall apart because
And
of
it's amazing the things that I have found out, because one of the things I started doing, rather than the juvenile docket to be just calling it, doing it, and okay, now you're going to be on probation and this is what you're going to do. No. Once I would take the plea, then I would delve into, why did you do this? Why did you vape? Why did you go steal? What is going on? What is going on that made you do this? And they'll open up to me. And so I started tailoring the conditions of probation. Rather than just the standard conditions, I started adding conditions.
to reflect the reality.
Right. Okay, let me send you here. And the other thing that I'm also proud of is, because they have to do community service hours. And anybody can go clean the animal shelter, for instance, and that is all good. But I want them to do something positive so that they can continue. Okay, what are you interested in? Well, I like boxing. Okay, I'm going to send you to the gym, get the director, get the instructor that you put in hours, and we're going to give you credit for that. And with the hopes that they will like to continue to do that. They have something positive to do and to look forward to.
So are you saying that, I guess, like you said, you need to reflect the conditions to the reality
Right.
of the situation? And I'm sure most parents appreciate that, because sometimes they don't have, they can't control the outside influences of their
Right.
friends. In fact, we know that when you have teenage children, their influence, the influence that they have are those of other students and other friends,
Right.
more so than the parents. And so you certainly need to hopefully just hit the right mark with your son or daughter, and hopefully.
And the other thing that I have done that has been quite impactful on the families, especially with my special docket or the vaping docket, I take away the cell phone.
Oh.
I
Is that
watch
taking
them
it right
for 4 months. I take away the cell phone. I tell the parents, if you don't have the passcode, you need to give them the passcode. But I understand that that's how you communicate. But we need to make sure all of those applications are out of there, and it's just strictly between mom, dad, or grandma, or whoever it is. And I bring them back at the end of 4 months, and okay, how did you do? How was it that you didn't have your smartphone? It was hard at first, Judge, but it was okay. I started helping my mom with chores, or we would play board games, or we did that, or we did the
Right.
other.
Well,
And
you made some
yes.
corrective behavioral changes. It's good. I didn't ask you 2 questions. One was whether you believe in students having a phone, and 2, whether or not maybe social media should be partly banned for teenagers.
I do think so, because I see the dangers. The other thing I have found out is our kids are ordering it online. They have special emojis, and on Instagram, all the applications, they put it, somebody responds, they deliver it to their house.
Incredible.
And they use their birthday money, they use their work money to buy this stuff. And that's the other thing I tell the parents. They're working, you get the money. Set up a little account for them.
Yes. Yes.
But I don't want your child to have that money. So we're working with it and trying to tailor these conditions to best fit the circumstance.
Wow, that really is something that things have changed over the course of time. Well, it's always never changed, but now you have to be even more specific about
Right.
what you need to do. We'll be right back with Judge Martinez right after this break.
My name is Joaquin Rodriguez, and I'm running to be your next 111th District Court Judge. I was raised right here in Laredo, in the Ghost Town neighborhood. Not in a political family, and not with generational wealth. I grew up like most families here do, learning early that nothing is given and everything is earned. I'm a proud product of the Laredo Independent School District and a graduate of Nixon High School. I worked my way through college and went on to Texas Tech University School of Law, always knowing that I wanted to come back home and serve the community that shaped me. I met the love of my life in high school, and I married my high school sweetheart. And today, I'm most proud of being a husband and a father to my son. Being a family man keeps me grounded and reminds me who the justice system is really for. Professionally, I spent years as a prosecutor, including in the Special Victims Unit, standing up for children and victims of violent crime. Today, I serve as the first assistant city attorney for the city of Laredo. I'm Joaquin Rodriguez, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Well, we're back with Judge Martinez, who was talking to us a minute ago about dealing with juveniles in the real world that they live in and what we need to do to try to help them as much as we can. People need to understand that, Judge, that juveniles are not adults.
Correct.
And while they may behave like an adult or they may violate the law like an adult, we cannot, under the law, treat them the same way.
That's right. It's a very different approach. As you know, with the juveniles, we try to rehabilitate them. We
Right.
want to make them good members of society. With the adults, is more punishment.
Right, and that's the difference between juvenile and adult. We are supposed to, at least the judges are supposed to go ahead and rehabilitate them to become better adults, as opposed to when you hit 17, you're an adult, and you're there to basically punish them.
Right.
So it's a totally different ballgame, and people complain all the time on Facebook, why is it the judge didn't throw the book at that 15-year-old kid?
That's right.
Because he committed a crime like robbery. And I understand how they feel, but the reality is that because they still mentally they're not there yet.
They're not there. That's right. And we go to these conferences, and they teach us and tell us about the brain, about the children's brain, and
Yes,
they just think differently.
definitely. In fact, they say, I think one of the things that we learn is that I'm sure learned is that an adult does not become an adult till he's 24, 25
Correct.
years old. That's
Yes.
the last part of the brain, which is the reasoning part, which is located in the very back of our brains. So, and people say, why are 21-year-old guards taking care of 21-year-old prisoners? I don't know why, but that's just the reality.
It is.
Now, coming back to County Court number 1, Judge, what type of cases do we hear? What type of cases in terms of substance?
Well, there's quite a range. Our legislature has now increased the civil caseload up to $350,000. So if you have a dispute anywhere up to that amount, you can file it in the county court. But primarily, the cases that we hear involve probate, involve guardianships, involve family law, and criminal misdemeanors, which would include domestic violence, misdemeanor domestic violence, and driving while intoxicated cases.
Right. So you have a whole bunch of cases there that you really need to deal with. Probate, though, is in fact only exclusive, basically, to the
In
county
our
courts of
courts,
law.
that is
So
correct.
that is higher even than a district court. That's
Right,
those are tough cases to deal with, I would imagine.
right. Yes, they can be, yes.
Yeah. So I mean, so there's a big bunch of types of cases you can deal with, but one of the things that always drives a lot of the confrontations, the issues, is always the right of custody of a child.
Right.
Do you, Judge, when you hear a case, would you treat a man and a woman basically the same way as it starts at the beginning?
Absolutely, because our family code says both parents have a right to have a relationship with their children. And so you need to start with that presumption.
Okay, well, because that's always the myth out there, or a perception, that it seems that women end up getting custody of the children all the time. But in reality, That's not really the case.
No. And most of the time, the parents figure it out on their own. They
Right.
really do.
And that's, yes.
And so once in a while, we have to make that hard decision. And a lot of it depends also on their schedules. Who's more available to take care of the child?
Right.
And things don't always have to stay the same. As you know, the custody can change anytime up until they're 18. And children have different needs at different times in their lives. And sometimes they need to be with mom, sometimes they need to be with dad.
Yes,
And
exactly.
we need to adapt to that and listen as judges to the needs of the children.
What happens if coming back to the issue of custody, you have a lawyer on both sides, you got the parents, no one's there for the child. What is basically what you do in terms of handling the issue about the child custody?
Well, I listen to the testimony of each of the parents, and usually it's a he said, she said kind of situation. And it's really hard because you're just listening to a snippet of time in their lives. And so I like to look at, and hopefully, usually the attorneys are pretty good, and they bring other kinds of evidence besides just testimony. They'll bring pictures, or they'll bring texting, or they'll bring
reminds me,
letters
Judge,
and different things.
you definitely, so that extraneous information is critical.
Very critical.
And so people don't understand that what they post on Facebook, if they post bad stuff, is going to come back in court.
That's right.
That is, if you're drinking, I would imagine if you're drinking, you have a child in your hand, or you're driving, drinking, and having a child in your car, driving, totally, those are all bad flags, red flags
That's
for you.
right. It is true.
And so you definitely need to be careful what's on Facebook, and that you not post everything. Of course, that's also a good reflection about what's going on in the world. If in fact they're doing that, you have every right to get a copy of those pictures and say, okay, what was your judgment when you were drinking and you were driving and you had a child in your back seat, unbuckled? What you started looking at
Right.
their mental capacity of
Right,
what they're doing.
right.
Isn't that part of the?
It is part of it. Absolutely, it's part of it. And all of that needs to be taken into consideration. And the lawyers, for the most part, biggest part, they do their job in presenting the case
The best.
and presenting it well.
Yes, definitely. So if you get a good lawyer, hopefully that'll be able to help you. However, again, you mentioned earlier that you're doing an ad litem attorney.
Yes, I do.
Could you explain to us what that means?
So the ad litem attorney is an attorney that is appointed by the court to look at primarily to talk to the child. They're there for representing the child. There's two different. There's one, an attorney that can be appointed to advocate for the child, and that's an attorney ad litem. Or there's an ad litem appointed to look out for the best interest of the child. And generally, the attorneys decide what is best in that situation. Do we want an attorney ad litem advocating for the child, or do we want one that is looking for the best interest of the child? Because there could be two different things.
And normally, Judge, when you have a custody case, how long does it take, more or less, to resolve this issue?
In terms of litigation in the courtroom, it could take a year, or it could take longer, depending on the discovery, depending on whether there's experts like a counselor or a psychiatrist. Usually, for me, I like to take maybe a slower approach in terms of if they're coming up with a different custody arrangement than what they're normally used to, I want to try it out first. Let's see how the child is adapting to this new schedule. And then let's come back and make some tweaks if we need to, rather than just sending them out into the world with this
Right.
new schedule. You don't know what things, how it's going to develop, how the child is going to take to it or not take to it.
Yes, definitely.
And litigation is very expensive.
It is
and
very
so-
expensive. So, but they always have the off ramp, Judge. You mentioned mediation,
Right,
and people can mediate this.
right.
Can any of the two parties request mediation?
Yes, they do.
Okay, so they do that, and who pays for the mediation fee?
Well, for when I do it,
Uh-huh.
it's free.
It's free. So you're providing your services right there, so they can get this resolved
Right.
and not have to get out of work, pay extra for attorneys, and so on and so on. But they gotta ask for it.
Right. They need to ask for it, and the judge will order it. Now, most of the time, yes, they qualify for it, and we set them up, and they come to me, and we can resolve it,
Incredible.
and they can go on their way. And the beauty of me doing it also is that, and this is why it works so well, I will take off my mediator's hat and I will put on my judge's hat, and we can put it on the record right there.
And you can resolve it right there.
And we
And
can resolve it right there, and that's it.
you don't have to come back to court.
No,
All you're waiting for now is for them to prepare the paperwork.
correct.
Wow. Well, I mean, that's something that it doesn't happen very often. So I'm glad to hear you've done that. It's very
Yes, I
helpful
saw
for them.
that need when I was practicing.
Yes, because not everyone can afford
No,
mediators. So,
no.
Judge, again, so if you're a pro se litigant and you don't have an attorney, you can still get divorced.
Right.
And in fact, you may even, if it's a simple divorce, I'm sure those things doesn't take that long.
No, they're normally set up in 60 days because we have to have the 60-day waiting period expire before they come to court.
Right. And the other matter, Judge, you also mentioned just the last few points that I'd like to bring up to you, and your philosophy relating to the issue of compassion for some of these cases.
You need to have compassion. You absolutely need to have compassion for the parties, for the situation, for the litigants and what they're going through, and take an approach. Let's sit down and let's figure this out, and let me tell you why maybe you should steer this way or steer that way, and then you go to the other side and the same thing, the same approach. Sometimes I have to be stern. You know what? I don't know that approach is going to work in court.
Yeah.
Right? And so
But you
we
put
try to
compassion,
give him
but
sight.
so you apply the law, but you also have the compassion
Right.
always to be able to decide what you're going to do.
Applying the law is easy.
Uh-huh.
It's when the parties, when it's a he said, she said kind of situation, and
Wow.
you have to decide who you're going to believe.
Yes. Well, Judge, Valentine's coming around. It's coming around in about a month or so. Oh, it's coming up. Do you do a lot of weddings?
I do.
Do you
at
do
the
'em-
courthouse.
Do you do at the courthouse? Are
Yeah.
you ready for that? It's always
I
a
am
very
ready
busy.
for that. Yes.
Good. You still have belief that because I remember when I was the judge, I'd see a lot of couples getting married, and it always gave me a good feeling that people believe in marriage.
Oh yes, I do.
They do, and that they're gonna give it a try.
Yes.
And so you encourage them to do that, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who go knocking on your door. All the judges. And-
Yes, a lot of the judges are on the list. Yes.
Yeah, it's always a busy day. Well, I'm sure that. So if you want to get married on Valentine's Day, feel free to contact Judge Martinez's office. She'll gladly take care of you at the courthouse.
Absolutely, I
Yes.
will.
Good, thank you. Last point, Judge. So when people are voting early voting on election day, and they're about to vote, and they still haven't really decided on your race, is there anything that stands out that you'd like to tell them about?
I am fair, impartial. It does not matter who you are, where you come from. What matters is what are the issues, how are we going to resolve it, the testimony behind it. I will listen to you. I understand the issues because I have been on both sides of the issues. representing clients. So I know what you're going through. And I know that at the moment it could be dark because you're unsure what's going to happen. And that's something I bring with me, that understanding, that compassion, and to listen to both sides and be fair and be impartial, all at the same time. It's absolutely can be done.
Well, thank you, Judge. I know that you're very busy. I look forward to seeing you again. We'll talk about other issues that are going on.
Yeah.
Again, thank you. And I want to thank you, the public, for watching another episode of 24/7 Laredo. If you want to, feel free to look at our YouTube page and follow through with the other interviews that we've done. I look forward to seeing you all again in a few days with another episode with a new candidate as well. Thank you for watching. And thank you, Judge.
Thank you.